This is the Bluff Town Council regular meeting. It is 6:00 p.m. Roll call.
Linda Sosa.
Jim Ayers.
Luann Hook.
Grant Murray.
Ann Leffernan. Aaron Nelson is not with us today. Then approval of the regular town council meeting minutes of August 9th, 2022. Has everybody read them? Are there any points of discussion, any changes, anything?
I'd like number 16, the creation of the grants committee or the active transportation plan committee to reflect. I think I mentioned there that I would like to be on the committee, and I don't think it reflects it. So
Actually,
if not,
I think
then I'll leave it as is, but otherwise you can tuck my name in there, and I motion to approve those minutes.
I'll second that.
and just by way of maybe a faulty recollection, I believe Jim, you and I talked about Mike changing out of it and you being in it, but not during the meeting. Does anybody remember?
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Because
that might be true. Yeah, that might be correct. Yeah.
Yeah, because at first, Ann, you had offered to be on it, and then you guys did some switch, and
We're
so
good. I'm on.
All right, then
Yep.
all in favor of approval of the minutes, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It's unanimous. Then the next order is public comment. There will be a 3-minute time limit for each person wishing to comment. If you exceed that 3-minute time limit without permission from me, the meeting controller will mute you. Does anyone in the community have a public comment? And if you do, let us know somehow. Jim Hook is leaving. I'm assuming he'd like to make a public comment.
Yes, thank you. I just want to mention to everybody who happens to be here and has neighbors that we've had over half an inch of rain in the last half a week, and the goat head population is exploding everywhere. Ed and I have been working them, and Luann, a lot of different places, but you'll see them get a foot tall here in the next week or so. So go after them, or if you want me to spray them, let me know, and I'll bring some Roundup over and knock them down for you. That's all.
Thanks, Jim. That's an excellent reminder.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to make a public comment?
Mayor, should we, at the first of the meeting, just mention those tax listings now, just as a reminder, and then we won't do it at the end? That listing there were some erroneous listings.
So why don't we do that in number 10? Thanks, Grant.
and I guess I would like to tack on to the goat head thing and the community garden out at the mission. There are some things growing out there. If you have a chance, swing by. Got rid of all the goat heads in the little walkways. Did the last little bag full this morning. So it's looking pretty good. But anyway, if you get a chance to swing out there, it's coming along. Has a lot of potential. There's some empty spots for some fall things, lettuce or spinach or that kind of thing. But anyway.
You got all those goat heads that were in the aisles there?
I
those
did. Did you do a stretch?
I've done several little patches, but
good, because I saw the barrel was
wow.
one day. So yep, they're all loaded and in the dumpster. But
all right. Anybody in the community that wants to make a public comment?
Yes, Mayor, I would like to make a comment.
Jackie Warren?
Yes. I just wanted to make a public service announcement. Having been on the mosquito abatement committee for probably 7 years now, we have had rain the last several days. There are standing water puddles. If people in town would just take a shovel and drain their puddles, we have probably a few more days before mosquitoes can lay their eggs in there, and then we won't need to use our pellets indiscriminately. So I'm just asking everybody to walk around their property and drain any puddles they see. That's all.
Thank you, Jackie.
Great job, Jackie.
Thanks.
Yep. All right, anybody else? Then not seeing anyone else, let's move to number 1, the status report on the playground equipment by Sarah Barak of the Playground Committee. And Sarah, I think you're on.
I'm here.
All right, go ahead.
Hi, thank you guys. And we do have physical documents that I will bring to the town office and share with you guys so you can read through all of it. But we've prepared a letter as the Playground Committee, and I was just going to kind of walk you through some of our recommendations. And then you can read the full report in your own time. But basically, we've met with the playground inspector, Mr. Tom Correo, and our recommendations very much follow his inspection and report. Overall, the playground is solid and well built, even though it is very old. And we feel that it should not be closed, but actually just, sorry, my child is choking.
Is she okay?
Yeah, I think she's a little dramatic. I think she's fine. But we would like to see it opened. There are some immediate needs that need to be addressed in order to open it. And we're going to kind of go through some of our immediate needs and then maybe some longer term projects. So based on the size of the structure is most appropriate for ages 5 and above. And one of our big things is that you should have appropriate signage. So some of our immediate needs is that there should be appropriate signage that lists kind of the recommended ages, supervision, playground rules. If you guys are deciding maybe you have set playground times, so dawn to dusk or something like that. And then just so you guys know, we did look it up. OSHA compliant signs can range anywhere from $10 to $100, so it wouldn't be too hard to get signage put in there. We recommend removing the standalone metal slide just because it poses so many hazards. So please consider that. That would just be taking it down and then backfilling around where it was put. The spider dome, if you guys can think of what that is, but it's the metal bars that kind of go up into a dome. It has some broken bars that would need to be re-welded. We would want to inspect the S-hooks on the swings and ensure that they were all solid. There is at least 1 or 2 instances where the swing itself needs to be replaced. And that's wear and tear, but also I think a little bit of neglect. And then in the last couple of years when it's been unused, we have some swings that are deteriorated. The overhead mounts for the kind of the monkey bar rings, there's some welding that probably needs to be re-welded. The volleyball poles, we would either want to take down, just fully remove them, or replace the net, because basically they're an impalement hazard. If a child were to run into it, you put a net up, there's nothing for them to run into because there's a net and they're visible. So we could put a net up, or we could remove the poles. You guys have probably driven by and seen we definitely need to trim back the trees. So we need to trim back the trees around the swing sets, weed. And then there are, throughout the equipment, there are exposed bolts, and those bolts need to be cut off. So we would just be cutting those bolts off. Those are the immediate needs. Some recommendations for intermediate needs would be to add some fill, so adding sand, especially in the swing wells, and that would raise the height of the ground, which helps make it more safe for children on the swings. They don't have as far to fall. Future things that we could think about in the long term, our playground is not ADA compliant because it is mostly platforms. So one of the things we could do, instead of trying to convert the equipment we have, save the equipment we have, but as we move forward, add ADA appropriate equipment. And this would be anything that's ground level. So it could be, music stations where you have like the xylophone or drums, sensory boards. So items that we could add that would have interactive play without having to utilize the platforms. continuing on that same idea, because it is a platforming playground, it is mostly for older children. So to make it more suitable for younger children, we could change some of the places where they have ladders and add steps. So instead of it being a ladder you crawl up or a chain you crawl up, you would have a step, and that would make it more appropriate for younger children. Same thing, you could also have those freestanding ADA components would also be for younger children as well. And then some of the bigger changes, we've looked into some of the costs, some of the larger costs, but ultimately it would be nice to replace the sand. So instead of having sand on the playground, actually have a softer material, which would be either wood chips or matting, or even like the rubberized fill. And then remove the railroad ties as the border. So right now the border that holds the sand in is made of old railroad ties. Those of course are deteriorating, so having a more appropriate material as that border would be one of the longer term projects to look forward. So those are kind of, before, I know I just gave you a lot of information. Before I move on, is any questions about kind of the level of need?
Is there a playground supplier that we can get quotes for kind of pricing some of this out down the road? Just an idea. I'll stop right there.
Yes. So the playground inspector actually recommended 3 companies that they've worked with. It's in the report, but Big T, like T as in tree, Recreation, Garrett Parks and Play, Lucky Dog Recreation. Those are the 3 companies he's familiar with, but there are quite a few companies that we could work with. He did mention, just because our playground is a little bit older, it might be hard to buy equipment that conforms. We have, I can't remember, sorry, my kid's hacking. I can't remember if ours are round or square, but basically one way or the other. Either all of the new equipment is round, so our posts are square, so we can't really, it'd be hard to retrofit a lot of things, or vice versa. Either we have square and now it's round. I can't remember which way it goes. I think ours is square and now it's round is the idea. So then kind of our last little bit is our offerings. So one of the things we just wanted to point out is that, yes, we understand that our playground is not in compliance. But one of the things that was pointed out is that basically codes change so frequently in the playground arena that a playground that's 5 years old or so is probably not in compliance either. And they don't expect, areas to pull out their playground every, 10 years. So having a playground that's not in compliance, assuming that we mitigate some of these risks, is not unusual. And even like a lot of the school playgrounds are not meeting the current 2020 code. So the playground committee is willing to appoint members to regularly inspect equipment to ensure any visible hazards, like loose connections or broken materials, are identified and reported to council. And we could even work on community grants if you're interested in us helping with that. So basically, we wanted to leave you with the idea that there's definitely potential in this playground, and we hope that you guys will seriously address the needs and reopen the playground, and that we are committed to helping either through regular inspections or grant writing as you guys move forward.
Thanks, Sarah. Any questions? I think Lou, did you have your hand up earlier?
Yeah, it's related, but not exactly. But I've been kind of wondering about the trees. You said they need trimmed, and I'm just wondering if they are also needing water. Are they going to survive?
They don't look too bad. I think they're going to survive. They would, just like all plants, would probably appreciate some water. But the ones that need to be trimmed specifically are the ones that are behind the swing sets, because you need more space for the swing.
Okay, well then.
And that's really just I think, the past 2 years, it hasn't been being done.
Jim, did you have a question?
Not really a question, just a comment that I would be in favor of if the committee were willing to find out, get some estimates from some of these companies. It would be nice to get grants, but I would like to hear what the estimates are for these immediate needs to get this thing working, that including the signage, to get this thing working as soon as possible. So if the committee wanted to look into that costs and get some estimates, I'd be, I want to move this right along is to get this working as soon as possible. Thank you.
I think, well, I think we could probably get you a few quotes. I don't know that we could get all of it worked out, just because we're looking at some new babies in the future. So we'll see how quickly we can get things pulled together. But I think, yes, we can work on that for you.
Well, that seems to lend urgency to this. So.
It does.
What a great report, y'all. Thank you.
So
You're
Sarah,
welcome.
where are you going to leave the report?
Where would you like for me to leave it? I can bring it by the town offices or to someone specific.
I'm going to be in here tomorrow morning from about 9 on for 3 or 4 hours. Could you drop it off tomorrow?
Yes, I can drop it off tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you. That was a good report. Well, it looks like we've got some thinking and work ahead of us, but thanks a lot.
You're very welcome.
And Quinn will be 5 before you know it, so she'll be using it. Hi, Quinn.
You say hi? You tell them you want them to open the park?
Open my park.
Oh, that's nice coaching, Sarah. Thank you.
I mean, it's actually, sorry, we don't coach her, but she got to go to the park for the playground inspection. So every time we drive by, she was like, let's go to that park. And I'm like, we can't.
We'll work on it, Sarah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you guys. I'm going to sign off and I'll drop this by tomorrow for you, Ann.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Bye. All right. The rest of number 1, I don't know why I merged them together, but update on Cooperative Community Center Design Review Team. Discussion today, Jim.
Yeah, it's the Culture Center. So, but that's okay. No problem. Let me see here. Gee, I just have it here. Hang on. Yeah, we had 5 people attend, including you, Mayor. Thank you very much. Damian Ballerman, Brandt, you, me, and Dave Conine. We discussed the bank account. We're hoping to get that, move that along and finish that up as soon as possible. I'm not sure where it is right at this moment, but the joint bank account. There was some question from one of the members as to the need for the joint bank account. Everything's going so well now, and we responded that it's part of the contract. Not sure if people are really reading the contract or if they, Woody joined us later on in the meeting, so that was really great. We talked about the strategic planning that really wasn't sent out. We're going to be talking about that this week, separate from the committee meeting, I think. USDA grant is still in limbo. Eccles grant is going to be discussed on Friday. My resolution about the archive for Bluff area authors and literature, Bluff area regional source literature. Nobody said they don't like it yet, and a lot of people have said that they kind of think it's a good idea. Foucher's writing was suggested also. No movement on the fire suppression. Need money, and we need the joint checking account in any case. There's been a security issue over there, real slight. It was discussed very briefly, and I think that UDB is going to start having 2 employees in the building. When Heather's there, there will be someone else as well. Minor security problem, nothing serious yet. Some good suggestions were made there. The utilization of outside space policy discussion went all over the place. But essentially there was a road motorcycle rally sort of being planned for September 3rd, and I don't think that's going to happen now due to insurance and because it's just late notice, and we don't want 100 motorcycles in on the playground and stuff like that. So we don't have a policy, but I don't think that's going to happen, the rally. Weed control, nothing, no forward motion on that, but it sure went everywhere. We talked about an incubator. We talked about small traditional gardens. We talked about a landscaping design. Anyway, I didn't follow it all, but it was a real discussion. Recycling is still, we haven't heard, but we are in favor of anything, you know, the little suggestions we've heard from recycling. And there's going to be a small traditional garden in the back, I think, at the CCC. Not anything big, just a little demonstration with some traditional plants. So it was nice to hear Woody speak. It was really gracious to get the mayor and Woody in on the meeting. It was great. Thank you. Anything I missed, Mayor?
No. Brant, do you have anything to add?
It was a nice summary, Jim. Thank you. And thanks for being there, Mayor.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
So the reference to Friday is that I'm going to sit down with Dave Conine, who appears to be the spokesperson for UDB, and I'm going to go through the agreement with him so that we're all on the same page as to what we've agreed to. And then I'm going to try to pin down a couple of timelines as to what UDB can commit to for timeframes. It feels to me that despite Jim and Brant's best efforts, it's really hard to get a follow-through commitment. And I'm thinking if I try to pin Dave down, maybe Dave can take it back and get some commitments like, what are they doing with the Eccles grant? I think we should be added to the portal. The name should be added to the portal, the CCC. You know, try to get some understanding as to what they are actually doing or not. And that
I agree with you, and I hope that occurs. We have known since before we made this purchase that the Eccles grant is by far the most promising grant that we can engage, and so far we've been waiting for drafts for many months, and it just can't continue like that. We've got to hit them, and so to speak, we've got to make a request of them before too long. Thank you.
And so to move along the piece on the resolution, it occurred to me when I still did not see anything from our attorney, is we could take a vote from our side for using Zion Bank, and then I can use the resolution format that we have for our Zion Bank and send it off to Woody for his approval and their attorney's approval. And then if that works, then we all know we're on Zion Bank on the same path, and kind of piecemeal it together and try to get this done. So do we have a consensus on Zion's Bank for setting it up as a joint account?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and if you need a motion, I can do that. I actually sent, it was a copy of a resolution, and I just substituted UDB in for everything where it needed to be on our original resolution to engage Zion Bank. I sent that in an email a couple of months ago. Just put UDB in there and said the same stuff for reasoning as to why we were choosing Zion's Bank. And so that resolution is out there in your email somewhere. But I'd be willing to make the motion that we engage Zion Banks for the same reason that we engaged them before.
And I'll second that.
So what that would mean is that I would contact Woody and their attorney and say, we're proposing Zion Bank. Here's a resolution. You pass it, send it back. We'll include it in ours, and then we can, Heather Atine and Linda can set up the account.
Yes.
Great.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Anyone opposed? All right, we're going to keep that moving. I'm tired of looking at it on the agenda. And that's my fault, so I'm owning that one. Then we would like to have a strategic work session with Aaron, our manager, kind of leading the preliminary path before we engage the professional strategic planner, so that we can see where we all think we should be going in 2, 3, 5 years. Do some long-term discussion with Aaron leading it. And what she proposed, I think she proposed, is September 7th or 8th for 3 hours. Anybody have a preference for that, for the 7th or the 8th?
I may be in Nashville at my new grandson's house, Mayor. But I'll let you know.
Okay, so does anyone have a preference for the 7th or the 8th?
Not I.
So the 7th is a Wednesday, I believe.
Correct.
I'd probably prefer the 7th, just at a glance at the calendar, but it doesn't really matter.
And Labor Day's that Monday, right?
That's correct.
Right, the 5th. The
Might
5th
need
is
to-
Labor Day.
So is everyone okay with the 7th?
Yeah.
And then time?
Or
What
should
time?
we give? I like the 10:30. Oh, but she wants 3 hours. So maybe 9.
Yeah.
Everybody okay with 9?
Yeah.
Yes.
Then we need to have a work session to cover some things, and I'm proposing the 13th or the 14th. And that's because we didn't seem to all want to do it on the same day for both working with Aaron and doing a work session.
I think
Correct.
I'm those days. Y'all decide and I'll be there.
Okay.
So I would just say the 14th, just because the Tuesdays get pretty cobbled up with a lot of other meetings. And
Okay, what time?
how much time do you want for that one? Do you want to do 10:30 for that one?
Yeah, why don't we? I know pretty much, not right now in my head, but I know what we need to cover, and I don't think it's going to take more than an hour and a half. I think we can, maybe even less.
So that'd be September 14th, which is a Wednesday at 10:30.
Yes, and September 7th, which is a Wednesday at 9. All right, then moving to number 3, the update on the audit by Larson. Linda?
So it feels like we spent a lot of time last week getting material to Larson. And so we haven't heard from them this week so far, which is probably a good sign. They may have a few more questions or request more, but I think they like getting things quickly. And so I think we're in good shape with that, but we are waiting to hear. It would be nice to hear from them that we're done.
I think no news is good news, but I know you're anxious. So thank you for all the work.
Yeah.
So one of the things that kind of threw us off was our audit issue this is way early for our audit. Our audit with Larson has taken place later, like in the end of October or November. And so this was not on my radar. It was not on Linda's radar. It was apparently on Dave Sanderson, our accountant's radar, and Larson's. And so it's not a bad thing that we weren't aware that this was going to start. The only thing is that I may have missed an email from Dave or Larson, but the bottom line is suddenly we were getting just inundated with the audit stuff. And I asked John Hatterley, the principal that we have kind of over us, and I just asked if next year we could get a heads up, and he apologized. When I went back and looked at emails, I think that Dave gave me a heads up, but it wasn't a heads up that Linda and I had to be involved yet. It was he was working with them, and I didn't take that as meaning we were in the audit. So next year we should know ahead of time, but at least it's out of the way and it's early. It's closer to the close of our fiscal year, which makes it easier for Linda and myself to remember what the heck we did that year before, rather than doing it in November.
But we expect kind of one per year from these guys. Is that where we are? And then we kind of have done those little self audits.
Right. But we do one a year for the state auditor, and this is it.
All right, thank you.
And because things were a little confusing, the engagement letter that I should have received and signed at the beginning didn't come till the end. So knowing that we've used this auditing firm before and that we've been talking about it, I went ahead and signed the engagement letter at the end of last week because they needed it to be able to move to the writing phase. So is there any disagreement now that I've signed it that we would be using Larson?
Mayoral powers are more than you think, Mayor.
I think we have approved Larson at least once in the past, so we're okay.
Yeah.
Well, we watched John Hatterley today report to the commission. He is really good. He knows his stuff, and he's who heads the teams that we work with. The number 4, discussion and ratification of the food pantry pass-through grant from San Juan Public Health to Ginny Burns and the policy for management of the grant. So today at the commission meeting, that was one of the agenda items was the commission needed to approve the pass-through grant language in the contract that we have to sign and that they sign. So today the commission approved the pass-through, and Dr. Sonata was on the line in the meeting, and he presented what the general theme of the grant is. And I won't go into any real details because we've talked about it before, but it's $10,000 that will be given to the town to pass through to Ginny Burns. I made a quick statement. I hadn't intended to, but I was asked if I had anything to say by Commissioner Adams, and I just wanted the community to know how many people that food pantry services, that it services the Navajo Nation, that the Burns are very generous with their time and their money. We have a lot of volunteers, but we're really running on private funding, and that this $10,000 should be very helpful to the food pantry to purchase non-food items. And I want everyone to hear that, non-food items. She's not spending $10,000 on food. She's going to be spending the $10,000 for things that the food pantry needs or that she feels the community needs, but it's not for the food. The food comes from the Utah Food Bank and from private donations.
I make a motion
Okay.
to fulfill this pass-through grant from San Juan County to the food bank and approve the policy.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And it has a nicer name than a pass-through grant. I should actually say the name. It's the grant for building resilient, inclusive communities. And so I really appreciate that Dr. Sonata and Rebecca Benali worked with us. Then they worked with MAP to get the contract, and I'll meet with Ginny tomorrow. I'll bring back a written policy that will be followed, and I will do the grant tracking from our end with Ginny Burns, and then Rebecca Benali does it for the county. I pass everything through to her, and she does all the state reporting and the federal reporting if there is any. So we're in good shape. Thank you. If Dr. Sonata's on, we really appreciate it. All right, moving to number 5. If you all recall, we had a quote from Sunrise. I had not.
Sorry, took a sec to unmute. Just want to say thank you. This is Grant Sonata.
Grant, thank you so much. You provide a great service to the community, and it was fun meeting Rebecca Benali and working a little bit with her. So thank you.
Great. Look forward to putting this into a good, pushing the work forward with this. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Very welcome. Bye.
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 So if you remember, Sunrise gave a quote of $12,000 to do some wrap up on the water rights and doing some research, doing a matrix. And I don't know if you've all reviewed it, if I can ask for a vote tonight to talk to Sunrise to be able to move forward, or if you want me to put it back on for the 6th.
I have a question. Did we ever get a view on this from the Bluff Waterworks by any chance?
We did not.
Okay, well, I would make a motion to move forward with this. I think it's a great idea myself.
Second.
It's work that has to be done. He knows how to do it. For any of us to be doing it would be fraught with errors, perhaps, and take forever. And let's just get it done.
Then any other comments? All right, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Right.
Anyone opposed? It's unanimous. I'll reach out to Tim Tuttle tomorrow. Then we've alluded to the division of, the Utah Division of History that was here on August 9th, 2022. And because it was after our meeting on August 9th, it wasn't on the 9th agenda for kind of an update. Would somebody just like to fill everybody in on what we talked about with the history people?
Mayor, would you like for me to do that?
Sure, Brain, go ahead.
Jessica Ortiz, the director of Utah Division of History, and her associate director, and Jed Rogers, who's one of the 2 writers for Utah Quarterly, held a meeting around the state, and one of them was in Bluff last Tuesday. And it was a wonderful meeting, about 30 people there. And so they just wanted to find out about Bluff history and about Bluff people that can sort of reinvigorate the Utah Division of History. They're kind of looking to try to reinvent themselves and make themselves more relevant, I think, in everyday lives. So there were great comments. Gary Guyman was there. And, you know, we had Galen was one of the old uranium folks here. So we had a wonderful representation, and we talked about oral histories, which I feel like is really important for us here with our neighbors across the river and in White Mesa and all around. So that's about it, Mayor. I was really invigorated by the meeting.
Anyone want to add anything?
Yeah, he did a great update. It was a great little discussion, and what it was a listening session on their strategic planning. They were doing an in-house strategic planning and going from community to community to decide what they are going to do next. So it was good. We were the biggest audience that they had seen for quite a few towns.
It was either Blanding or Monticello that had 3 people show up.
Yeah, the night before they just had 3 and we had 30, so we were 10 times better.
This might be a good point for me to throw this out, because I don't know where my thinking is how we'll do this, but one of the community members here, Gene Stevenson, used a recorder and in the past 9 months did some interviews with Melvin Gaines. Gosh, brain dead of Melvin. And so I keep forgetting to throw it out if there's anybody in the community who could volunteer a couple of hours to listen to the interviews and maybe do some kind of typed out summary of what was said, and then we should secure those interviews. I think there were 2 or 3. Secure those somewhere so that they're in that oral history, Jim, that you were talking about trying to create.
That's going to be a great resource.
Really important.
So if anybody hears this and has time that they want to devote to listening and trying to do at least catch the high points, then we'll find a way to have a repository for those oral histories, and hopefully other people will ask to use the recorder and capture some of these from other folks.
And Mayor, if you think about the repositories in town, Gene Stevenson has a huge repository. Gene Fouché, just over and over people in town, local writers, Win Blevins. Jim knows more of these guys than I do, but we're really excited about the idea of creating a special place that we can honor some of the old writings here.
And just Gene Stevenson had done some other things for a book, and he had Lacey just transcribe word for word. They were not copyable. And that's what would be ideal if he's got the recording from Melvin, just to transcribe everything that's heard, just word for word. So if anybody's a good typer or whatever, that'd be awesome.
So keep that in kind of everybody's mind as we try to set up whatever Jim's talking about for a repository. All right, then moving to number 7, discuss and vote on repair and maintenance work at West Park. I don't know if Carol is
I'm right here.
All right, good job. So Carol gave us a list which was sent out to everybody. So did everybody look at that list? Do you have any questions for what Carol is asking for?
I wanted to publicly thank Paul Martini for putting in such a great watering system. He had help from Dudley. Erin's going to write it all up. She took a bunch of pictures, and Paul's going to maintain it for the foreseeable future. Bill Crowder refinished the picnic tables, and Tina and Kathleen got the transition kids to paint rocks so that we don't have fires in the fire pit. But now we need to hire somebody to do this work. Shall I read it?
Read the list? Sure.
Yes. Remove the dead tree in the southwest corner. Remove the freestanding barbecue. Remove the drip irrigation tubes from the area surrounding the statues and store them in the BCC shed. Linseed oil the surrounding fence. Mow the entire park. And replace, Anne thought we should replace the board on the controller box, but that shouldn't involve buying anything. We already have the linseed oil. So it's a matter of hiring somebody with equipment who can finish up West Park.
Carol, were you able to connect with that person that Paul gave us his name and number?
No, I've called numerous times for 9 days now, and Paul's been trying since Saturday. We can't get through.
Well, should we have a motion to do the work, and then we'll have to keep looking for someone to actually do it?
I'll make a motion to complete that project. I don't have a budget number. Figure that out.
Jimmy, second.
Park maintenance improvement?
Yeah. Park maintenance and improvement.
Any other questions? Then all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It's unanimous.
Mayor?
Yes.
The bike rack slab is going to be installed tomorrow near Fire Mesa Kitchen. So that's the tentative schedule, Carol. And maybe we can leave that bike rack out in the main gym. I can grab it in the morning when we'll need it. So but I was thinking we may be able to get the same group that's doing that to do some of this work too. So we'll talk about that if you get the list. We'll figure it out.
Well,
Do you already have a location over at Fire Kitchen?
We met over there Monday at 10 o'clock, Jim. Yes, and it's going to be inside the ties. We thought we'd cut the ties so you could ride your bicycle in. You know, that little above the septic system by Fire Mesa.
Okay, to the south then?
Say it again.
To the south?
Yes.
Yes, to the south of Fire Mesa Kitchen, kind of in the shadow. You know, close to it. There's a fire trap or a grease trap there. But we thought it'd be good to keep the bikes segregated from the car traffic. And so that's kind of what, that's the plan currently.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
then number 8 is discussion of fire restrictions. If everyone remembers, we passed the fire restrictions a few months ago with having the strongest ban on fire, meaning no fires at all. The state has lifted the fire bans in the southeastern part of the state. I just want to know if we're all comfortable with where we are and keeping ours in place, which affects only the incorporated parts of this area, while the state has moved to lift their fire restrictions.
Our fire restriction allows for propane-fed fires, cooking fire outdoors.
I don't have it in front of me. It's the strictest one, so no open flames. We could move to the less restrictive class. Oh, maybe I did bring it with me. I did.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
the propane is okay.
Let me just pull it out here, Jim. I didn't think I had it up here, but I do. So stage 2, which is what we have, is no open fires. But you are allowed to have compressed or liquid gas grills.
Okay, yeah.
Stage 1 is a lesser restriction with no open fires of any kind except within established public facilities like improved campgrounds, picnic areas, or fire pits at private homes where water is present. And then no cutting, welding, or grinding metal and dry vegetation. Same thing with combustible things like motorcycles and chainsaws.
So I'd be comfortable with at the end of August moving to a more relaxed state, but I'm kind of August is like, but it's raining, so whatever y'all think, I'm all right with it.
So our
Let's
choice,
keep it.
keep it where it is.
Maybe
Good.
it'd be nice to get the fire chief's input on it, but my thoughts would be the stage 1 might be appropriate. That would allow the campgrounds to have fires in their fire pits and be at Sand Island in the fire pit. You can use charcoal, which you're not allowed to do any of that with stage 2. And then all the all the rest of the weed burning and all that is still not allowed.
Correct. I'm okay with going to stage 1.
I'll go with it.
It simplifies us and the area around us, So
Right. And I think it's a good point that it allows the campgrounds and private individuals to have something on their own property. We've had a lot of rain the last few days, and it looks like it could continue. But does anybody want to make a motion to move to stage 1?
or do we need to withdraw? We didn't.
Say that again.
Did we have a motion? Did Jim make a motion that second?
No, I have not made.
All
I
right.
have not motioned.
I'll make a motion that we move to, along with the state, to that new restriction. Is it
Okay.
1?
Stage
No.
1.
The state didn't move. The state took everything off. So
Wow. County?
stage 1 would be the restrictions I read, which are less restrictive than stage 2, which is what we're in. The state took restrictions off.
Okay. Sorry. I'm going to make a motion. We go to stage 1 at this time.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Were you opposed, Linda?
Oh,
Or did
no, I
you
said
say
aye.
Tim, it's unanimous. Sorry, you broke up a little better. I'm not hearing well tonight. All right, then moving to number 9, discussion of establishing the committee for the active transportation plan and other possible grants. I just called it the active transportation plan for the purposes of getting it on the agenda. There are a lot of ways to approach it. It would be whenever Lewin calls the first meeting of people, and you decide how many committee members you want, what grants you're going after, and then what do you want to call the committee. Or we can pick a name tonight. And Jim, go ahead.
No, the first meeting is Ms. Schmidt has already put the first meeting together, and it's the active transportation plan. And I think the active transportation plan is a good name for it. That's what we're really aiming for. And there are a lot of ways to get there, but definitely we're going for the active transportation plan. That's an obligatory kind of a thing. So I like the name. It works. And I'll vote to establish it, actually.
I think haven't we already, or
I thought so.
yeah, we've got the committee established, but the last meeting you had said just to name ourselves once we got to meet. But we are trying to get the first meeting on Thursday. Molly sent out the invite. It's hard to coordinate all of everybody's schedules, but
And so how many people are you going to have on the committee?
I don't have everybody's name, but it's just adding 2 or 3 more to what, with Sayers and me and Molly and Adrian, Debbie. And
No more than six, right? Something like that.
right.
5.
It was Joe Hubbard was very interested in joining, as was Anthony Lott. So that's not too many more.
That gets you up to 7 or 8.
Yeah,
Do you want to cap at 8?
sure.
Sure, that sounds fine.
Because one of the things I'd like to do when Aaron gets back is kind of go over with various committees the policy that we've approved for how committees function and report back, and kind of get a schedule as to when committees will be reporting. Will it be monthly? Something like the playground committee wouldn't be monthly. It'd probably be something like as needed as they make a plan or get information on a grant, but something like the active transportation plan that has a deadline, we probably want the report more frequently. So maybe on Thursday, when you have that discussion of how this is going to look and what your duties, what you're going to be doing to divide up the work, maybe send me an email so I know to share it with Aaron, and she and I can talk about it.
That sounds good. We do have the ones that I mentioned would be 7, and Aaron would be the 8th person attending, at least, probably depending on how you want to delegate things to her, but she would be the 8th person.
And Luann and I had a discussion about the use of Aaron, and again, I think Aaron's plate is pretty full this first few months with everything that she's doing, but she could act as a liaison just like she's doing with the design review committee. Attend meetings, help report back, keep us informed. So I will talk with her when she returns the 24th.
Okay, so then as far as numbers of people, in case there's somebody else that really wants to get energized and help move things forward, that she wouldn't count as our 8th.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Right.
She'll be I was going to say just the liaison. She'll be the liaison that can help move information. I think that would be good. But like Luann and I talked, she won't be doing the grant writing or the grant planning or any of that. Then you'll keep us updated, Lou and Jim, Moving to number 10, the San Juan County Commission meeting was today. And the biggest topic of interest for Bluff was certainly the valuations that were done on commercial properties. We had several people from Bluff who offered a public opinion. Liza Duran, Nancy Sumner, Amr Tomei, Jennifer Davila was in the audience, and those were the people who had the warm bodies there at the commission meeting. And the Board of Equalization is meeting on the 29th and 30th of August. So for those people listening, and maybe we'll highlight it somewhere on our website, but if you do not like your valuation from the commercial appraiser that the county hired, the 29th and 30th are your days to go up and present your evidence. And I would strongly recommend that you look at the commission attachments for today, starting at about page 213. I think it starts at 213. It lays out what you need to do to present your evidence, how you appeal the appraisal. It's very detailed. McDonald did a great job of putting together those pages so people can look at it and see how to follow along. You have to call and get an appointment. Can't just show up. So you call Lyman Duncan's number. It's on the back of your tax assessment. So when you look at your assessment in the bottom, in teeny little letters, it tells you what you have to do. And there's a phone number there for San Juan County, and you call it and tell them that you want to be on the Board of Equalization agenda. Then you'll get a slot. The other thing that can be done is, and I called Mac McDonald this afternoon because I'm not sure the information is accurate that has been floating around. There were statements made today in the meeting, the commission meeting, by, I think it was Rick Meyer, but it might have been someone on the commission. Anyway, that these are private meetings, private hearings. You'll go and present your evidence. I do not believe that is true. I believe this is an open and public meeting. I believe that there will be other people there, and that you should be prepared to present in front of more than just the Board of Equalization. Some people may come to just watch. Some people may come to just wait their turn. But I see nothing in OTMA that would allow them to close this. So I called Mac McDonald to ask him, is that what's happening? Is it closed? And he said he heard that. He was a little puzzled. So he's going to check it out, because his take on it is that these are open. You present your evidence openly. So if you want to take a support person with you, everybody's, of course, hire an attorney, but it's not where you go into a closed room and they take the evidence and you walk out and the next person goes in. That's how it felt like they were describing, and I don't think that's accurate. As soon as I know something from Mac, I will put it out either on our website or in an email to the town through a blast. But I think people should really look at what Mac McDonald put out on in the packet for today. He said he's also going to put that separately on their website. So I think if you go to the website in the next day or two, that whole section will be pulled out of the 250 pages and segregated on their website.
Mayor,
Brand.
there are other commercial districts in town that had increases like some of the ones I've heard about here
Were there other properties in Bluff or in the county?
in the county.
Supposedly the increases were done across the board, in the sense that all commercial businesses were evaluated and reappraised. I have a meeting with the mayor of Blanding on something unrelated, and I'm going to ask him, that's on Thursday. I'm going to ask him what all he has heard. But if you look at the information that's in the packet, you can see that Blanding, Monticello, Bluff, they've made those adjustments to all the communities because of the computer error that they had. So I have to think that the commercial reappraisals affected every town and city. I don't think that Bluff was singled out if that's the question, but I'm double checking. Actually, I'm checking. I haven't checked yet.
Thank you, Mayor.
And let me just check. Linda, was there anything else that was of particular interest other than the food pantry grant, which we talked about?
Well, that and the audit report, those were the things that really related to us. And when they were talking about people meeting up at the hearing in Monticello, one thing that they pointed out was you have to have evidence to plead your case, and they strongly, I think it was Bruce Adams, strongly suggested showing that your income has decreased. And so I will probably send out a copy of our ordinance where we close the town for, a certain amount of months. And so that people going up to the hearing can use that as evidence also if they wish.
That's a good suggestion. Yep. Commissioner Adams was really very supportive of laying out what people could do and how they do it. But it does walk it through on what Mac put together as well. So if you're a visual person, you can see what they're talking about for evidence. And I think that was pretty much it. The rest of it was fairly routine. Number 11, if you haven't noticed, you should. On both ends of town, we have the new speed signs, the driver, what are those called? Not driver alert. What's the phrase for those?
Feedback.
Driver feedback. Thank you, Brant. The driver feedback signs. And we've had at least 2 citizens in Bluff who are close to one of those speed signs say that it's slowing traffic down, that they're seeing actual traffic coming from the west coming down, where usually they don't start slowing up or braking until they get past Friends of Cedar Mesa, sometimes the school. They're starting to see them slow down before they get to Desert Rose Resort. So hopefully those driver feedback signs will be appreciated, and with maybe some interested deputies, we'll get some of the traffic slowed down.
And has your intern been able to do any speed studies yet?
Yeah.
Is he working on it?
Yes, he's working on it. And he's got quite a nice chart on the Excel spreadsheet, and he's clocking right out at random times. So
is he finding speeders, or is it?
On the west end of town, yes. The east end of town, not so much. He said they tend to slow up as they're coming down the canyon, and they're not going 70 miles an hour, but he's getting some speeds on the west end, 65, 70 coming right through. So it'll be interesting to see what he collects this week. He hasn't been out yet, but what he collects now that we've got those feedback signs, see if it's made any visible difference in this.
What kind of car is he in? I just want to keep my eyes open for him, Mayor.
I'm not going to say Brant. It's a secret. So, yeah, stay tuned. We'll have some data before he takes off on the 4th of September. And this is a reminder to the community, if you have a public service job, I have this 22-year-old who's finishing up in political science. He's really interested in the politics of the community and helping. If you have a public service thing that you want, spreadsheets or things like that, any kind of work that he can say is community oriented. A little hesitant to send him out in this heat to do goat heads. I had thought about it, but I'm a little hesitant. He's not used to this heat at all, or the altitude. All right, moving to number 12, the Bluff Fort has requested again that we do a fundraiser for our volunteer fire department and volunteer EMS people. They've suggested September 10th because that's a Saturday. The 11th is a Sunday. It'd be the pancake breakfast like they did last year. And I thought it would be a good gesture on well, first of all, last year, I don't remember what but it raised a nice chunk of money for our volunteers to be able to use. And I thought it would be nice if the town contributed some of the funds for the food and that type of thing. They're asking us, to help with the food service and that, like last year. But I think we should make a contribution. I don't know how much, but I can certainly talk with Bill and Tricia Spears about what an appropriate amount would be that would help them along.
Good. Let's do that, Mayor. Find out. Let's plan on doing that if we can.
So because we don't meet until September 6th again, unless we have an emergency or something comes up, it's getting pretty close. Could somebody throw out a number of what they think I could go up to for a contribution, and so that
How much? What kind of money are you thinking about, or somebody else? Luann, you have an idea?
No, I don't know. I know that they do that as kind of their contribution. So maybe we could do it separately and just offer our services.
100,
Help
kind of
serve.
something like that, up to 150. I don't know. I'm just throwing numbers out.
It could be that later on they will have a need that maybe we could fund specifically to what they need. This is they get this as a cash donation back from the breakfast before it does the advertising and whatnot. So I don't know. I'd see what he says, but I kind of, unless he's already suggested that they want us to donate.
Yeah, and I made the suggestion because I think it's something that we should do, because the money that's collected goes to our volunteers. And I don't know how much they have out of pocket, but they have out of pocket expenses.
Check it out.
Well, yeah, I'll make a motion.
Make a decision. I was going to say, the mayor can make a decision. We can give her the power.
I'd like to motion to go up to 150, and I don't see Linda saying no. So
Okay.
sounds like a number that would work.
Anybody?
I'll throw out another 50 if it turns out that we need to. So, I mean, I'd leave that up to the mayor to make a decision, but that's where I am.
Then all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, then it's unanimous. Special CED meeting on August 11th, 2022. Linda, that's yours.
Last year, the County Economic Development Group did a grant from the state and for $200,000. And we are doing that again. And actually, that did come up at the commission meeting. They approved us moving forward with it. And what we used it for last year, about $180,000 went to county businesses. We had 3 businesses in Bluff that were awarded grants and used them for different things. And so we needed to meet just to approve going forward with this so that we could get it to the commission and then get it. It's due, I believe, in October, but we didn't want to wait on it. So that was approved, and we are having a few things coming up. Shark Tank for people who have ideas that want to compete for, I think it's $5,000. We will give grants out to businesses again, and we are having a San Juan County Business Summit in November. And we gave out I believe, $5,000 grants to high school students, to seniors. So this is similar to what we did last year.
So one of the things that Bruce Adams commented on today, Commissioner Adams, when Elaine Gisler, head of economic development, was explaining this up to $200,000 pool. And I kind of like to echo it here. I think all of us that had been involved with Natalie Randall, and then those of you who are involved with Charlie DeLorme and others, really we were all kind of feeling like in the middle of COVID here, we're losing Natalie, this wonderful asset. And while that's true, we lost Natalie Randall. Elaine Gisler is really very good at what she's doing. She's really promoting the county. She's promoting businesses. She's really just such a go-getter. And I think that Commissioner Adams' words should kind of be echoed, that we've been very fortunate in this county to have such excellent people, and Elaine is right up there with them. So I don't think Elaine listens to our meetings, but I'll probably just send her a note and tell her that we're all really appreciative for everything that she does, and to Linda for being on the economic development and getting things moving for Bluff. It's really helpful. All right, number 14, meeting with Kelly Thornton on the Department of Workforce Services. Outreach to Bluff on August 11th, 2022. Kelly Thornton heads this region's Department of Workforce Services, and she sits on the same Homeless Coalition committee that Joe Hubbard and I sit on. She contacted me because she's recognized, and Workforce is recognized, that this corner of San Juan County really doesn't get the attention of the workforce department that's up in Salt Lake. And so there's a big push by her to bring services that are available to the Bluff area and south. And so we met for what I was thinking would be about a half-hour meeting, and we talked for about 2.5 hours. And so she left some brochures, but there are so many things that I'm totally unaware that they offer. And so I'll tell you the one that I really thought, So if you're an employer and you're training someone on the job, now the business owners may know this, but I didn't know that you can get reimbursed for part of the wages that you're spending to train someone. So there are all these programs out there that they have available, that she really wants to get that word out to the Navajo Nation, get it out to us, get it down to Monument Valley. And one of the things that we talked about, and don't anybody act surprised that I talked about this, but one of the ideas is maybe being able to give a satellite time in our building in the community center for once a month outreach for half a day, or having her go to Ginny's food distribution on Fridays where they can hand out things. I mean, I think there's a lot of room for us to get those services if we can provide some of the resource space for them to, sit here and meet with somebody. We move over to the school, we'll have some office space that's sitting. I mean, I just think that we need to explore what Workforce can do in the community that we're not getting. She dropped some pamphlets off at the library as well, and talked to the librarian there, and she put up some posters. So she'll be getting back with me. Her name is Kelly Thornton. She's super knowledgeable, and I'm hoping that everybody feels the same as I feel, like this would be a great service to get down here, where people can get some hands-on information about what Workforce can actually do.
And Mayor, at our CCC meeting today, we talked about one of the programs they'd envisioned was a business incubator to help local businesses get started. And Linda, this is a lot like what San Juan County's going on. We haven't moved forward on that, but there was good discussion today. So I see a lot of promise maybe in putting those two ideas together maybe.
So I'll keep you posted on what she's giving us for information. Then Linda, the financial report.
I sent everyone the financial report for July. Brant did the reconciliation for July. We received checks from Dene Bakea and the Senior Citizen Center for their portion of leasing and utilities and things. And then I also sent the bills out today. So are there any questions about the bills? And can we vote to approve?
Motion to approve is presented. Did you get those second two added, Linda?
Yeah.
Those two. Good.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Right?
And Linda, you usually include that list with the minutes, don't you?
Yes, I think I missed one time, but we're in a different, but yeah, it's so that the public can see it if they are interested. So I do that at the third meeting.
Anyone opposed? Then it's unanimous. So is there any other?
I have one, but go ahead. Did you have something, Brent?
No, sir. Go ahead.
I'm going to be gone for a little over a week, starting tomorrow. My babysitting services are needed.
Remember how
my son-in-law has been deployed to South Korea for a brief period of time, and my daughter has just started a job, and I think we've got to pitch in here.
Well, if they're anything like my kids, they walked me through how do you change the baby because they think I'm so old I forgot. Good luck.
I wish I could forget.
Anybody else with another? It's 7:17.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Good meeting, everybody. Thanks.
Anyone opposed? It's unanimous.